Moin! Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Good up. Are Germans really rude? We've been seeing this meme or stereotype being mentioned quite a few times in quite a few different videos. But it's a bit of a loaded question. Like, are Germans really rude, or are people like, you're gonna find rude people everywhere? You're gonna find rude people. So let's hop in. This is a British comedian. I can't remember his name. He's got that famous bit, "Are we the baddies?" when they're dressed as Nazi soldiers. Let's hop into it.
I think that's expecting too much. Yeah. That's why I really like the fact that we live in a country with such poor customer service.
There's Stephen Fry.
I've got respect for that. You know? This is a horrible train, you're tearing tickets. Of course you're in an awful mood.
That was British comedian David Mitchell talking about rude staff. Now, what I find particularly interesting about that is that he was, of course, talking about the situation in the UK. But this is something that is normally associated with Germany. Certainly, one of the first things that people, Brits included...
Well, because working in like retail or a customer service role, it can be terrible because people are terrible. So you kind of get that back and forth. It can happen pretty easily. You put any people in that situation and anything goes wrong, there's going to be potential conflict. Yes.
Notice about this country is how appallingly bad customer service is. It starts the moment you get off the plane. Certainly, my experience has been that British immigration officials, thank you, welcome to Britain, sir, are a lot more pleasant than German immigration officials. If anything, the German officials are even worse now that
The Hasselhoff picture.
I can get in just by scanning my passport, and the officials just sit sealed in their glass boxes. Here is a real-life anecdote. I was recently on the little train that serves this valley, and some of the stops on that line are request stops. If you want to get on the train, you have to stand where the train driver can see you so that he can stop the train. So we pulled up rather sharply at one station to let somebody on, and when we set off again, the driver made the following announcement. Sie müssen sich ein bisschen früher bemerkbar machen. A few minutes later, the conductor went into the driver's cab.
I mean, maybe they weren't super visible.
And I heard her pass on a message from one of the passengers. A huge thank you, and it is so rare to find such a nice train driver these days. I never did find out whether it was that passenger being sarcastic or a different passenger talking about something else. So, is it true? Are Germans always rude? Well, it depends. It depends on a lot of things, but mostly it depends on your definition of rude and what you're used to. As a Brit, and now also as a German, I find it
And like, fake friendliness is annoying, right? So
deeply unsettling to go to a country like the US and be surrounded by complete strangers doing awful jobs, all trying to pretend that I am the best thing that has happened to them all week. I'm with David Mitchell on this one. I know you don't want to wear that grin, and I think that you know that I know. So why are we going through this pretense? Here in Germany, I have managed to catch people on a bad day, and it hasn't always been a very pleasant experience for me, which is unfortunate. But I deal with that by reminding myself that these are human beings, just like me, often working in jobs where they get yelled at by people all the time. But I can't actually say that people have been really...
yeah, I worked in airports for a long time, and you know what really sucks? A canceled flight. And then you have to just telling people. Usually we'd get a call from dispatch like, "Oh yeah, sorry, but the flight is canceled." And then and then there's like those few moments where maybe the flight's already delayed, so people are already on edge. The passengers, and then you have to go make an announcement and say the flight's canceled, and then everybody has to come to the counter and line up, which leads to more impatience. And some people are really good, some people are really bad, but yeah, got yelled at a couple times. It's not so fun. Like, they should make more money for dealing with such stressful situations. I worked in airports for 13 years, and a lot of canceled flights.
Rude to me. Indifferent, yes, and sometimes even unhelpful, but not downright rude. Most people I've dealt with on a professional basis have been perfectly pleasant and respectful. Different people are going to have different experiences. I spent 10 years living in Berlin, which even by German standards is legendary for its rudeness. But there it's a kind of a running gag. There's a strange mix of Prussian order and efficiency, so government officials aren't going to waste time on meaningless small talk, they're just going to tell you what you need to know, and subversive egalitarianism. A bus driver might yell at you because we're all equals here. Now I live in the rural south, and I have to say that in all my dealings here with officials, whether it's registering my address, getting married, applying for citizenship, I have always been treated.
And there usually is a difference too between like a government-run establishment and a privately ran business or right? Like sometimes the government ones are less friendly because they don't really have as much incentive.
Courteously by people who are clearly a lot more relaxed in general. Personally, I don't find German rudeness difficult to deal with at all, but this is after 30 years of living here. And
I don't think I would either. Like, I'd prefer just quick interactions with, like, I'm usually like that. Like, I want to get in, I want to get out. I don't want to have any erroneous extra time. I want efficiency, so I can appreciate that. I
do have to admit that when I first came to this country, it did take me a little while to get used to it. If you're from the kind of culture where you expect to be smiled at and treated like royalty all of the...
I'm just thinking right now of Office Space. It looks like someone's got a case of the Mondays. Like when, your coworker's not being chipper enough. If anybody's seen Office Space, absolute classic film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Such a great film.
Time, then you might experience a fair amount of culture shock over this. But if you see it for what it is, basically just people being honest about what they think and feel, you may be able to tolerate it just a bit better. Now, if you want to see another of my videos, you can click on the thumbnail in the closing credits. If not, this is the end of the video. Goodbye.
Interesting, measured take on like this German rudeness, conception of German rudeness, I guess. He talked about Berlin having almost like a running gag for the supposed rudeness and the subversive egalitarianism of everybody being on the same level, so everybody gets yelled at the same, regardless if you're a bus driver or a CEO or like, right? It's pretty funny. All right, see y'all in the next one. Sounds like a deal. Cheers.